Welcome inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Dan Hope joined by Andy Anders. Ohio State holding its 7-on-7 tournament right now, but we also just had our first opportunity in a while to talk to Ryan Day, and some very interesting comments made by Ryan Day today in his little impromptu summer press conference. The biggest of which has to be the revelation that Caleb Downs could potentially play some snaps on offense this year.
Yeah, he mentioned there have been conversations with Caleb specifically about, being sort of a depth option maybe at running back if needed, or maybe a gadget kind of player, bring him in some special situations possibly. It seems like something up in the air, and Ohio State does, obviously two of the top 5 running backs in the country probably, in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, but after that, your next options are freshmen and a walk-on. So I think those conversations are based in the fact that Ohio State wants to have enough depth at running back, and also Caleb Downs, I think, when you talk about this 5-star talent and all the things he's already shown through one freshman year at Alabama, is exploring his options of what all his football talents could entail. If you see a player like Travis Hunter out at Colorado and think, well, maybe I could be a two-way player, right? But I think that it's definitely something interesting to keep an eye on, but not sure how much it will come into practice and play come fall.
Yeah, it feels like probably one of those summer storylines that maybe won't actually be in practice that much this fall. But hey, it's something that defenses have to think about now. And you bring in a guy like Caleb Downs. If he says, hey, I'd really like to have a shot to play offense, you're at least going to entertain it. When we saw him have a 90-yard punt return touchdown at Alabama, it's still a possibility he could be involved in the return game. I think the question is would it really be worth the risk to put him out there on offense when he's a guy who's expected to be maybe the best safety in the country? Do you really want to risk the possibility of him getting hurt on offense? With all the weapons you have on offense, I'm not sure if that's really worth it, but certainly a fun thing to think about. I think in terms of the more pressing personnel questions, I think certainly the one that stands out is the offensive line. I did ask him, did they look at a transfer offensive lineman? And he said, they really just didn't find the guy they were looking for in the post-spring transfer window. And so they're going to go with the guys they had this spring. We know that one of those starters on the right side of the offensive line is going to be Josh Fryer. Not set in stone yet whether it will be at guard or tackle, but it sounds like most likely they're going to keep Josh Fryer at right tackle. That leaves what we expect to be a three-way competition at that right guard position between Carson Hinsman, Tegra Shabola, and Luke Montgomery.
Yeah, and I think Day's sentiments today about the transfer portal in the spring echoed a lot of thoughts we had of there wasn't really a player out there that struck you as this is a clear guy Ohio State can go and get and upgrade that right side. And I think, as Day said, they took time to evaluate that and peruse those options, but there wasn't, just in the spring window, there wasn't a bounty of offensive linemen to be had, and it's a position that's at a premium, so it makes some sense when you think about it that way. I think that there's not really a sense from Day yet of who they feel confident in on that right side. I mean, we saw it kind of mixed up towards the end of spring, where Luke Montgomery was taking first team reps for a while. Then it was Tegra Shabola and Carson Hinsman more so later as the spring progressed and even in the spring game. But he does feel confident enough in the young guys on the roster, in that trio, and then in other options that they didn't feel like they had to take a desperate swing at somebody in the portal, which is a good sign, but still I would put offensive line top of my list of concerns for this team entering the fall because of the importance of the position. But I think the main vote of confidence we got from Day to Day was about Josh Fryer himself, talking about his leadership, talking about steps he's taken this offseason, talking about how confident they are in him to probably play tackle, maybe be a guard, depending if that's how the top 5 shakes out, and be sort of the cornerstone of that right side and fill in whoever's next to him.
Some of the other question marks that Day noted that he has today going into fall camp. Still have to decide who the starting quarterback is going to be. No real anything new coming from Ryan Day on the quarterback situation today. As he mentioned, it's June. They are not going to have any more practices until August 1. So quarterback competition. We think Will Howard's still the front runner, but that's still up in the air. On the defensive side of the ball, he mentioned they're still looking to build depth on the defensive line and at safety, and then wide receiver as well. They're also looking for some more depth. And then on special teams, looking for who's going to be that starting punter this year. So not a ton of major position battles going into this year's fall camp, but still some positions that they're looking for some clarity on.
But yeah, and that reflects on what Day said too. You talk about the pressure and the expectations on this team. Sort of, players have said natty or bust. Fans are kind of in that mode. A lot of them, I think, especially beat Michigan or bust, right? But Day talked today about, it's easier to have that pressure. I'd rather have that pressure when I have a great team behind me. And he basically came out and said this is a combo of talent and experience. It's the most talented and most experienced teams when you add those two factors together that he's had at Ohio State this year. And so that helps a lot to dissuade some concerns you have, but there's still those questions entering fall, even if it's a short list of them. But they're important questions. Offensive line and quarterback are two pretty important positions. So we're going to have to see how those competitions sort out here, and then we'll kind of take it from there and figure out the identity of this team really and what it's going to have to take to win those important games as the season rolls along.
And of course, the big storyline of the past week was Aaron Dunston leaving Ohio State's recruiting staff to join the staff at Michigan. Ryan Day had no interest in talking about that, or Tony Alford today says his focus is on the guys that are here as Ohio State, going through summer workouts, as well as recruiting to build its future for the 2025 class and beyond. So we're going to get back to watching the 7-on-7 tournament here as Ohio State closes out its final high school football camp of the month. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Press Coverage, and stay tuned with 11warriors.com for lots more Ohio State football coverage.